Welcome everyone to this episode of Nita Nay's Books, Author's Point of View, Getting to Know Me and My Novel Series. Let's get into the thick of things. So, getting to know me a little bit better, I actually had a birthday recently and I am 52 years old. I'm grateful to God and thankful for those 52 blessings that He has granted me. We know that every day is not promised. Um, in regards to my life, even when I was younger, I accepted Christ when I was 24. So 24 to 52 doesn't mean that I haven't had challenges or I haven't failed God or any of those things, but I know God loves me even in the midst of my trials, my tribulations, my failures. Um, you know, so it is important that I express that to believers, non-believers, those who may be new to Christ. And so even after you come into Christ doesn't mean that you don't have challenges or circumstances that come into your life that be like, you're like, oh, how can I deal with this? But God will see you through it. And so know that He is with you. He loves you. And He all He wants you to do is to trust Him and to live for Him and obey His word. And so uh, a little bit about my writing situation. You know what? I on Embrace the Dawn, I really talked about my mom and her creativity and the things that she did. But I don't want to, forget about my dad because my dad, through all of my life, he has been the jokester, the one who tells the stories. He's the one who's, he will think up a joke so quickly. And so my dad, Otis Leonard, he is one of my heroes. He is one of my creative. He is the one of the reasons why I'm creative as well. He loves to tell jokes. We talk every other day, 2 to 3 times a week, maybe once a week, even sometimes. Just depends. But we try to keep up with him as well. But that is it about me for now. And so we are getting ready to talk about the ghosts of slavery's dance. We are back, the ghosts of slavery's dance. This particular book came about from a dream and as well as a scene that I saw in a movie, and I'll talk about both of those. The dream I had when I was writing Unconditional Counsel back in 2006, 2007, the dream that I had was I was on this slave ship and there was death around me because, some of the slaves did die on the boats as they were traveling the seas. And so I was on this boat, and the boat actually crashed into some rocks. And so the bottom of the boat split open, and the bodies started falling into the water. I could see this. The bodies are falling into the water. And as I'm seeing the bodies fall, I'm seeing me fall as well, and my chains uh, melt away from my body. And so I was free and I was able to swim to shore. And so as I swim to shore, you know, you're in exhaustion because you really don't know how far you swam in such waters as that. And I find that I'm on this island and I'm on this island alone. And so that's where the dream ends. I also saw a movie back during that time, 12 Years a Slave. And I don't know if it was before the dream or after the dream, but when I saw 12 Years a Slave, there was a scene within where the main character runs over to another plantation to get one of the girls that's supposed to come back. It was a Sunday. She was supposed to be free to go on Sundays, but the main character goes over there and tells her she has to come back. And in that process, um, just seeing the fact that this mistress of the house is a Black woman, so even in the state of Virginia, there were women who, not a lot, but there were women, African women who had been taken as slaves and then they were turned into house mistresses. And so you can tell in that scene she did not love him, but her reasoning for wanting to be in that position was to not have to be out in the hot sun picking cotton, not to be raped, not to be beaten. And so that particular scene really set out in my mind the thought of, you know, in slavery times, could a relationship like this really be fruitful and last the test of time, because there is actual love, within the story. So this is a love story, and it really starts off with there is a grandmother, which is Nikita. I mean, the great granddaughter, which is Nikita, and the great grandmother, which is Nakti, which is the actual slave person, former slave person who was alive during her times, which is in the 1940s, to be able to tell her great granddaughter what it was like to be in that environment, experience what slavery was, but also to experience what love was, even in a interracial situation. And so the plantation owner, his son actually grows up. He goes over to Africa and gets slaves. There was this particular woman, and I won't give too many details about her until you can read the book. But there was something special and different about her that he was infatuated with, and it turns into love. So this was during slavery time. This was during the time that the Civil War happened, Confederacy and the Union soldiers. And so, in this book, it is not a full-fledged novel per se. Right now it's roughly about 33,000 words. It is complete currently right now, but it's not like a full 200 page or 100 something page book. It is, again, 33,000 words. It may be more by the time I get finish editing it and fully, maybe deciding if more information is needed or more detail is needed. And so that is The Ghost of Slavery's Dance. So now we are getting ready to do our reading for The Ghosts of Slavery's Dance. Now the reading for The Ghosts of Slavery's Dance. Nikita. Slaves have a history to recount. Millions will never have the chance. Death by hanging, lynching, and other forms of savage torture practice prevents them from doing so. My great grandmother is the sole survivor of her folk in America. She was the last one in my family to be a slave and yet alive to recount her story. Nakti. If not for my great granddaughter craving to learn her history, I may have taken my story to the grave. The kids nowadays don't ask about their history, but Nikita convinced me otherwise. To relive it again was a difficult decision to make. Slavery was a horrible existence. I experienced the harm and misery that it caused for those being taken from the motherland, the tribes who lost their loved ones, and those left behind with the unknown. Yes, there were tribes who surrendered their people for a price, never forgiven such an atrocity, betrayal. I didn't understand what happened to me and didn't know why until my later years of life. The outcome of my experience has been one of triumph and survival. Nikita. The rationale of what bondage is and the devastation it produced is nothing the history textbooks can tell us. Misinformation and thievery of our history could never provide those that came after them truth. I perceive with time, the correct knowledge will get out and teach our legacy for what it was. Can it ever express the anguish and outright horror of what the slave man or woman was going through internally? The intimate moments or grief in his or her own words. The slave acknowledges the stories read over the generations as my great grandmother acknowledges, grateful, unlike most, to hear my great grandmother tell me hers. Hope you enjoyed the reading from The Ghost of Slavery's Dance. So we are back, and I hope you enjoyed that. So now we are getting ready to get into our writing topic, and that is, what is your why for writing? Your why must be the driving force for you to persevere through your writing from beginning to end. You know, your why has to be, not just to make money, or not just to be a famous writer or not to be, well known. For a writer and wanting to be a writer, your why has to be a deeper concept than that, because you have to write a story that not only uh, rivets you, but rivets the person that's reading it. And so my why, just to get that out, is, you know prior to me, I had written all of these books. Matter of fact, I had again written Amethyst and Love, Mercy Undercover, Unconditional Counsel, um, Apocalyptic Seven, and this one, The Ghost of Slavery's Dance. And all of those books I had written even before I decided to really focus on writing and getting into writing. It is not a full-time job for me, but to have that passion and the love for it, you to tell the story is really, the focus of writing a book. And so in this process, it has transitioned from just writing to, stay sane, or to, um, you know, help me in my process of thinking. It has transitioned from that, from, being helpful to me to wanting to share my novels and books with the world, with those who want to read a good story. And so in that process, your why has to be deeper than the surface things, money or fame. You really have to have a passion for it, and your why has to be the driving force to persevere even once it's finished, to go through the process of editing, and the process of having a finished product, and then the marketing, and then sending it out to the world, to be critiqued and to be criticized and to be because everybody is not going to like your writing, everybody is not going to um, like your genre, or everybody is not going to read your book. And so, you to be a writer, you kind of have to have some thick skin as well. Um, so, in that process, that is our writing topic for today. It is, what is your why? Identify it. It again, it has to be deeper than the surface things, and that why is going to also propel you to not just do one story, but several stories. Um, I think also my why uh, transitioned when my friend had given me a book that she had written. And I was like, I have 5 books that I'm not really doing anything with. And so in that process, she gave me context and started me on this journey. And, as she did for me, I want to do for others, to pay it forward, to help in any way I can. Um, I have helped other authors edit their books, give critiques on their books. And so I enjoy that. If I don't have to be the final person to sit to give you that professional editing process, but yeah, to pay it forward. And that's why one of the reasons why I started the blogs as well, to pay it forward for other authors just like me who are new to this process. We don't have a name for ourselves. We're not a Stephen King or Jerry Jenkins yet. um, but to give others encouragement and the opportunity to say, when it's a deeper calling, when it's a deeper emotion about writing and telling a story, and even an original story or your own story, that why is important. And so that is it for our writing topic. And now we're getting ready to get into our writing resource. So this is our writing resource for today, which is the Directory of Literary Agents. And this is not only a directory for literary agents, but for agencies as well. So you can see here at the top, it says top literary agencies, best literary agents, list of literary agents near me, near you. And so they have all of these different areas, categories, literary agent directory. So this is a great resource that I would tell, beginning authors who want to traditionally publish. And so it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to get an agent per se, but I think it's best to get a literary agent first, and then they will pursue, if they believe in your writing and can sell your writing and present your writing, they can present it to literary agencies that would publish your book traditionally. I don't necessarily, this is really not necessary for self-publishing, but or if you're going to be traditionally publishing, this is a great resource for you, the Directory of Literary Agents, and you can go in and sign up. It is for free. There's nothing that you have to purchase. You just have to, once you get in, do your research of who is the best literary agent that you can find that will read your book, their processes of how they do submissions for your book to them. And so across the board, this is probably the free and best way for you to really find again literary agents and literary agencies for traditionally going the traditional route of publishing. All right, that is it for now for our writing resource.